Time for Lobo Talk, brought to you by Mountain Dew. Unleash a refreshing citrus kick with Mountain Dew. Do the do. To call the show, 246-0610 or 888-922-0610. Now, here's the voice of the Lobos.
And you're up, Rob.
Portnoy.
Hello, Lobo fans. It is a special edition of Lobo Talk from Bob King Court inside the legendary pit. I'm your host, Robert Portnoy, with the luminaries of the Lobo coaching regime. We've got Danny Gonzales, Lobo football, Richard Pitino, Lobo men's basketball, and Mike Bradbury, Lobo women's basketball. We're on Facebook Live, YouTube, Twitter, and of course live for you on the UNM Sports Radio Network and 610 The Sports Animal here in Albuquerque. Gentlemen, this is awesome. What a cool idea. What a great place to do it. I mean, could we have a better setting for this show, Coach G, than the pit floor?
It's the company we're with. I mean, you've got a conference champion. You've got a brand new head basketball coach with Pitt in his last name. I mean, does it get any better than this? I mean, I'm living a dream right now, Robert. This is unbelievable.
I'm loving it. Guys, it's great to be with you both as well. Coach Pitino, just a couple of weeks. How's it been so far?
It's been great. I mean, it's a fresh start. I have not lost a game, so everybody likes me in town, which is nice. But it's been fun. I mean, it's getting to know our current players, doing my very best to put together the best staff, but not be in a rush. Get out in the community, get to know people has been really fun. I mean, you know, for us, what I love is they care about New Mexico, all the sports, deeply, and that's where you want to be, and they want to win championships. That's crystal clear. So it's been fun. It's been a bit of a whirlwind. But, you know, I've loved every second of it. Grateful for the opportunity.
Well, Coach Bradbury, I got a chance in person just the other day. Coach Gonzales put on a wonderful March Madness event for the staff in the Gonzales Center. I got to congratulate you for the first time in person for your conference championship, but I haven't been able to do it on the air. Lobo Talk fans are hearing you as Mountain West champion for the first time, Coach Bradbury. Way to go, man.
Thanks, Robert. I appreciate it. We had a really good group of kids this year. They played really hard, played really together. This is the most connected team we've had, and it was very important, obviously, this year with us being on the road, you know, just about the whole time.
Hey, Lobo fans, download the new Lobo Sports app today. You can access exclusive content, interviews with the head coaches, live game broadcasts, keep up with the latest stats and scores, enter to win prizes, and much more. It's the Lobo Sports app. It's free. You can find it in the Apple Store and the Google Store. Download it now and go Lobos. We are live. It is Lobo Talk on the UNM Sports Radio Network, and we have a phone line for you, 888-922-0610. 888-922-0610. You have a question for football coach Danny Gonzales, men's hoops coach Richard Pitino, women's basketball coach Mike Bradbury. We will get you on the line with the coaches. Also, via Twitter today, we're doing a little contest. We've selected 3 of the best questions that we received via Twitter for each of you. You guys just signed some really cool Lobo baseball caps, all 3 signatures on the bill of the cap. We're going to give those away before the evening is over. So we've got a great show set up. And for all of you watching us on Facebook Live and Twitter and YouTube, at the UNM Lobo pages there, thanks for being with us. I've got a hunch. I don't know, and I know it adds a little element to this, but I've talked with Chase Christensen, our creative services director, that there might be a video piece to Lobo Talk moving forward if we can pull it off. I think this is great. Any way for you guys to interact with the fans in more ways, that's better, isn't it, Coach G?
Absolutely. It's like having people in the stands. I mean, I'm disappointed that we didn't get to support Coach Bradbury. I mean, I had to put on a janitor sleeve to be in here to watch him play the Colorado State game. I was okay with that. But I'm just disappointed we couldn't have everybody in here because we can fill this place up. This is the best place in America to play college basketball. I mean, you've got the Cameron Indoor. I'll put this place over that any day.
I've seen it at its best, and it's absolutely incredible. And though there weren't any fans, Coach Bradbury, I know you were extremely excited about the fact that your players got to clinch that regular season Mountain West championship on this very court that we're sitting today.
Yeah, it was great. And, you know, we only found out a few days prior, you know, to us being able to play those games at home, and our kids were really excited. They were a little bit worn down and things from the travel, and when we were able to tell them that, their spirits lifted, you know, because there was some debate if the games, we should even play the games. And try and rest up for the tournament. But when we told them that, they said we're all in and we want to try and win a championship.
Do you think the number of games that you had there at the finish caught up with you a little bit in Vegas?
I hate to use excuses, but it was 8 games in 16 days. And I would like to think that it made a little difference, but our kids didn't use it as an excuse. We had a chance to win that game, and I didn't make enough right calls down the stretch, and we didn't make enough plays to be able to pull it off. But very proud of how we finished.
This is something unique since I've been in this chair as voice of the Lobos, to have the 3 coaches of the 3 programs that are here tonight on this court together for the same show. I think that there's something going on in the Lobo Athletic Department right now that I haven't seen before. And Coach Pitino, since you're new into it, I wanted you to share with the fans your feelings about what you're getting from the rest of the folks in the Maloof building and the rest of the folks in the Davalos Center and in the Toe Diem, because we've got a big representation here tonight on Bob King Court, and it feels like the alignment of everyone in the department it's really starting to line up.
Well, I think the word you just used is very important, alignment. When I met with Eddie and Dave Williams, that was like number 1 on the list that they wanted to talk about was we've all got to do this together, and we need you to have great relationships with the coaches and great relationships with everybody in this building, because we got a lot of work to do. But I do know this. When football's really good, it helps us. And when coach can bring recruits to the pit and we're really good, it helps them. The number one thing that you need is the state is so proud. If the fan base is rallying around each other's and the coaches around, you can do special things. So I think gone are the days where I don't want women's basketball to be good because I get jealous. Or I don't want I think you see, I was lucky to work at University of Florida when they had Urban Meyer and Billy Donovan doing it together, and that's how you do special things. So that was number 1 on the list for Eddie when we spoke about, we all need to support each other, and we need to be at each other's games, and we need to, and I just think it makes for such a better environment. We went to coach a spring game, and I didn't tell the players to be there. I hardly even know our players just yet. I'm getting to know them, and I saw them all there. And that's really cool. That's awesome. The environment that we need to have.
Coach Gonzales, Coach Pitino just talked about the fan base. He's getting a sense of it. You know it from when you were a little kid. What are your first memories of this court? What's the first game that you can recall as you dig back into that vast? I mean, you've got so many memories in there, and I keep hearing new ones. Every time I talk to you, what are some of the very first ones?
My favorite one from being a kid is the 1988 game against Arizona. Sean Elliott was on that team. Lute Olson came here and complained about having to play here and didn't want to come back. Hunter Green blocks a shot right here at this end.
Sean Elliott's shot.
Yeah, at the very end of the game to win the game against the number 1 team in the country. That was awesome. And as I can tell you, I was sitting right up there in the top row because that's all we could get. And me and my pop were screaming, jumping up and down. Unbelievable. And this place is special. It is a special place, and it's because of the community. It's the city of Albuquerque. It's the state of New Mexico. They love their Lobos. Their expectations are high. I tease him all the time. We've never been to the Sweet 16. You would think we've been to the Final Four. The Wolfpack made in the Final Four, so we take credit for it. I'm one of them. So in 1983, that was a big deal. And so he made the comment of Urban Meyer and Billy Donovan. If they're talking about Danny Gonzales and Richard Pitino and similar sentences, a lot of happy people around here.
Coach Bradbury, have you shared a story of running a Power 5 school out of this gym? Your team has done it several times on this court.
Yeah, it's special, and it's hard to get them to come. Now I will say, this year, last year we played at Arizona State. This coming year we're playing at Arizona, who just lost in the national championship game. Well, the following year, Arizona and Arizona State are both coming here. And that's a perennial top 10 team. So that'll be good. But it was, we played, number 16, 17 Marquette and made a shot at the buzzer to win. And that was a few years, 2 or 3 years ago. We beat Oklahoma in here. We beat Missouri by 30 or 40 in here. Those were Illinois the same way. So it's special, and we had huge crowds for all of those games, and it does make a big difference.
One of my most memorable games that I was fortunate to call in this building, a guy who just took his team on an incredible Final Four run at UCLA, brought a Cincinnati team in here, and Mick Cronin and the Bearcats got worked by the Lobos on this court. It's no surprise they haven't been back. It's amazing what happens in here, isn't it, Coach G?
It is. It's unbelievable. I mean, we've got a great fan base, and when we have a good basketball team, it's a special place.
Really special place. Sports are better with a crisp Bud Light at your game. Keep it crisp, Lobos. Please drink responsibly. Coach Bradbury, you mentioned difficulty getting those Power 5 schools to come here. It was just announced. And on the other side of the break, we're going to ask Coach Gonzales about an upcoming game in a couple of years that was just signed for Lobo football that everybody's going to be very excited about. We've got so much to do. It's a special edition of Lobo Talk. We're live on the UNM Sports Radio Network, and we're on Facebook Live, Twitter, and the Lobos YouTube channel. Stay with us. More to come. We're live. It's Lobo Talk on the UNM Sports Radio Network. Welcome back live inside the legendary pit. We come to you from Bob King Court. It is Lobo Talk, a special edition for you on the UNM Sports Radio Network and locally here in Albuquerque at 95.9 FM and AM 610, The Sports Animal. Phone line is open for you at 888-922-0610, 888-922-0610. Pepsi's a proud sponsor of the University of New Mexico. Pepsi was made for sports watching, so break open a Pepsi and let's go Lobos. This special edition, we've got the luminaries on court. We've got Coach Gonzales from Lobo football, Coach Pitino from Lobo men's basketball, Coach Bradbury from Lobo women's basketball, and you got to light up those phone lines at 888-922-0610. So as we went to break, Coach Gonzales, I teased what was just announced. You guys have set up a game down the road, I think 4 years, but it's on the schedule, and it's at one of the most legendary venues that you can take a football, team in the entire country.
Mm-hmm. It's University of Michigan. It's over 100,000 people. It's very similar structure to the Rose Bowl. Both teams come out from the sideline. I've played there before from one of my previous stops, and we had an opportunity to win that game. I'm saving all this stuff. Nobody thought in 2007 Appalachian State was going to go in there and beat the 5th-ranked Wolverines, and it happened. They blocked a field goal to win that game. I'm not saying we're going to go in there and win, but I tell you what, by 2025 we'll be a darn competitive football team, and if they let us stay in the game long enough, we'll have a chance. They'll be sorry they invited us. I promise you that. They'll be beat up a little bit after the game. It'll be a lot of fun.
Oh, man. The excitement generated on social media and throughout the community when that announcement came. Already people marking their calendars and thinking ahead about how do I plan my trip to Ann Arbor. That is phenomenal stuff. Before we went to break, Coach Bradbury talked about getting the Power Fives to come in and play the women's basketball team. Richard Pitino is the brand new men's basketball coach. He is with us here on court as well. And Coach Pitino, that's been an issue for Lobo men's basketball is getting teams like we just mentioned before we went to break, that your friend Mick Cronin brought his Bearcats in here and they had a tough time. And it's hard to get those teams to come to the pit. That is a tricky thing. Have you asked around about how best to go about that and where are you going to look for those kinds of games? The pit fans love to see the good teams come here.
Yeah, first I think they need to fear us again, right? And certainly we've got some work to do there. We've got to build it. But I think it is very, very important. Even more so, the COVID element of getting our fans back rejuvenated to come to all of our games, I think is very, very important. I want a tough schedule that makes us better come conference play. I also want a schedule that keeps our fans engaged. I certainly understand that. I'm not one to just want to pad wins or no. I want us playing our best basketball late in the season, and I also want this town excited again about all these sports. So you got to get on it early. I get a lot of phone calls now wanting to play us. We got to get to a point where they don't want to play us anymore. But I think there's ways to get creative. We got to get this place packed. I think for everybody, into where, in the fall they're talking about football, in the winter they're talking about us. But it's we've got to make sure that we don't take our fans for granted. It's what Coach is doing with Michigan. That shows that he's got great confidence in what they're doing. And so I can promise in 4 years I'll play a tough schedule. No, I'm just kidding. But we do though. We got to get creative. We got to get these great programs in here. From a basketball perspective, what I've told a lot of recruits, and I do believe this, I think there's 3 fan bases, and you got to give San Diego State credit. So we'll say 4, but in the West, Gonzaga, Arizona, San Diego State, and New Mexico. Those are 4 rabid hoops fan bases, and we got to make sure we reward our fans. That's very, very important.
You've mentioned that another friend of yours is Coach Few, and I think what Coach Few and that university have done at Gonzaga is absolutely unbelievable. To think that they are now truly a national power and a national force in every way that you can manifest that. They recruit against the Power Fives. They beat the Power Fives. Their non-conference schedule this year was brutal, and they won them all. And it wasn't always like that. This is a little school in the West Coast Conference, and now they have everything, the resources, the backing, the alignment, all those things to make it happen. And I've thought about this place and where we are regionally and what UNM can be, what it has been and what it can be again. And you've had those conversations with Coach Few, haven't you?
Yeah. Coach Few obviously has turned down a lot of jobs. He's not one that loves a lot of jobs. He's not one that jumps at a lot of jobs. And he's been great to me over the years. We've gotten to know each other. And When my name popped up, he called me. I know exactly where I was. I was in the Midway Airport in Chicago, and he said, you got to take a hard look at that. And he has not done that with me. Everybody wants to be Gonzaga, right? Everybody does. Everybody thinks, well, we can be Gonzaga. Here's what we do have. We have an unbelievable fan base. We've got good tradition. They want to be great. But it's going to take a lot of people besides the ones sitting here to turn any of our sports into what it is that we're doing. You have to have phenomenal leadership, and that is the president, the athletic director, and I've met them, and they're great. You've got to have alignment in the community. Like, this is not something that can be just one coach or one coaching staff to do. Everybody wants to be Gonzaga. You got to look themselves in the mirror and say, okay, Gonzaga's got unbelievable resources and alignment, and they kept pushing it and pushing it and pushing it to get better. The beauty is we've got a fan base that cares deeply about all these sports, and we've got a really cool place to visit. An up-and-coming city. You have a chance. You have a chance to do that. But you need stability. I think Eddie Nunez, the reason I took the job was I think he is one of the best athletic directors in the country. Dave, his right-hand man, Williams, is terrific. Like, you can see it. But we all need to work together to do that, and that's a lot of hard work. But it's alignment, like you said, more than anything.
It's going to take everybody.
No question. From a fenced-in yard and a walk-through gate to an automated gate for your driveway, Valley Fence has you covered, including child and pet-friendly solutions. You'll be amazed at the many choices you have in materials and design. Valley Fence, New Mexico's #1 fence company. I'll share a little vignette with the fans before we started. The coaches voiced over some commercials for us, and Coach Pitino said to Coach Bradbury, I came to New Mexico to hear the Kentucky accent again. And the thing that I wanted to ask you, Coach Bradbury, is what we've been talking about. This is Albuquerque, New Mexico, and yet you're here. And it's because of where we're sitting, right? I mean, this is why you're here.
Yeah, I took the job literally because of the fans. And you look around women's basketball, and not everybody draws fans. And to be top 10, top 15 in the country every year in attendance, regardless of how we've done or our record, it's amazing. And then to be able to recruit to that is what's helped turn our program around. That's what we sell. We sell the fans. Just like these guys, I feel like they're the best in the country, definitely the most passionate. That's the biggest thing we have going for us, and that's what brought me here, and it's what has brought just about every kid on our team here.
The concrete, the brick and mortar, the wood, this is an incredible edifice, and it has so much rich history. But, Coach Gonzales, it doesn't mean anything without the people sitting in the stands.
Nothing. I mean, it's the community that loves this place, that believes in it, and it's our job to give them a product that'll make them proud.
Where does your feeling and sense of family come from? Because I have felt it. It's so genuine, and it's permeated this university, this athletic department, since you came back home. It seems so natural.
I was spoiled growing up. My parents, we lost my mom last November. In the 52 years that they were together, I never saw them once disagree. Growing up, never saw them argue, never saw them fight. And so I was spoiled in that. And I've tried to emulate my dad in my relationship with my wife. And she's my best friend. And so having that in your corner, I mean, if they're not involved, you're not going to be very successful. You can have hints of success, but if you choose family or you choose your job over your family, life's not going to be good enough, and the people around you won't be happy. And so she's involved. I want all the coaches to have their kids around. I mean, we're not babysitters, we're parents. And if we need to have them up, especially during this COVID time up in the office, if we can't concentrate, some kids running around, then how are we going to do it on Saturday? How are we going to do it in here? So, I mean, my faith first, family's most important to me after that, and if they're involved, you have a lot better chance to be successful.
That's Lobo head football coach Danny Gonzales. We have head men's basketball coach Richard Pitino and women's basketball coach Mike Bradbury. Phone line for you at 888-922-0610, 888-922-0610. Coach Pitino, during the process of your introduction, I was talking with Coach Gonzales, and he mentioned to me that you guys spoke before you took the job, and he said you're going to really like him. We talked a little bit about that conversation. I'd love to hear from your perspective when you first met Coach Gonzales over the phone and the sense that you got of him and this place.
Well, I think I said it during our press conference. Coach Gonzales was like one of the first names out of Eddie Nunez's mouth. And I'm sitting there going, like, am I going to have to be compared to this guy all the time? But it wasn't about football, which obviously we know he's a great coach. It was about the type of person he is, the type of pride that he has for the state and the university and the community. And obviously, Coach being from here, I understand it. You've got to be ingrained in the community. You know, I can't just be a basketball coach, just like he can't just be women's basketball or football. And so I called Coach, and he was real with me. You know, I mean, who better to talk about Albuquerque than somebody from here? Him and his wife were there when we got off the plane. They were awesome. You know, I mean, but you can just tell they're genuine people. And I care deeply about that. We see people in our profession all the time who are not genuine and who act a certain way when the cameras are off, and they change when the cameras are on. I'll never do that. I know these two will never do that. And that's what we want to be all about. And I think more than anything, we want to be a great reflection of this athletic department. And so Coach was great, and it's been very, very helpful when in the middle of preparing for a spring game and doing all that. Didn't have to do that. And I know it's very, very important, like we've talked about, to be at each other's games and be a part of it over and over again, because that's how you get a thing moving in the right direction. So he's been great.
I told him I'd be one of the ones sitting in the front row yelling, being one of those lunatics too. I mean, absolutely.
You gonna get on the officials?
Absolutely.
All right.
I can't get in trouble here.
That's true.
That's a good point.
With Bank, the worst can happen, you get kicked out.
That's right.
Right. Okay.
I do know this. When I got the job, Eric Curry, a Mountain West ref, lives in Minnesota, is actually married to a woman's assistant at Minnesota, and he was one of the first calls I got, and he said, those are some real fans over there. So he knows. He knows.
With Bank of Albuquerque, you'll be ready to live life's moments to the fullest. Knowing you have a strong plan for the future, it's our commitment to you. Bank of Albuquerque, member FDIC. Okay, some stuff to get to on the other side. We've got questions for the coaches submitted to you, to us, by you via Twitter, by you the fans, and 3 lucky fans are going to have in their possession a signed Lobo baseball cap. It's one of my favorites too, by the way. It goes with their cream unis. It's got pinstripes on it, and it's got the 3 coaches' signatures on the bill. We're going to get those questions to the coaches when we come back on the other side. We're live on Facebook Live, YouTube, and Twitter, all the Lobo social media. We're, of course, live as well on the UNM Sports Radio Network, and you're listening to Lobo Talk. We're back live. We are on Bob King Court inside the legendary pit. It is Lobo Talk on the UNM Sports Radio Network. The phone line is lit up at 888-922-0610, 888-922-0610. We have coaches Danny Gonzales, Richard Pitino, Mike Bradbury, and this is going to turn into rapid fire here, guys. I'm going to start with a question via Twitter. You can see, if you're watching us, these 3 beautiful Lobo baseball caps with the coaches' signatures on it. We're going to give one of those away right now to the person that submitted this question. This is for Coach Gonzales. Coach G, you learned a lot working under Coach Edwards at ASU. It's actually a 2-part question, and they're separate. Part 1 is, what was something that you learned that maybe you had not seen at a previous program? That's your first question. The second one is, what can we expect from Terry Wilson, your new quarterback coming in?
Okay, first one. Coach Edwards, obviously had an NFL background. And we did a lot of things differently than I had done before under Coach Long, which at times was very frustrating to me. We didn't scrimmage. We did not do a lot of live contact. He was more in the NFL method of them getting hurt, and practice wasn't worth the risk of getting better. So we had a bunch of arguments, and he always let me argue, and then he would tell me he's the boss and we're going to do it his way, which I agreed. And so thankfully, because of COVID, it came in handy. We weren't allowed to practice. We weren't allowed to do a lot of things with contact. And so a lot of the things that I had to come up with to be successful in my mind helped in this situation. So that was huge. And he's one of my best friends who I'll forever be grateful for the opportunity he gave me. Terry Wilson,
as inspirational as he appears every time you see him?
He is exactly who you see on ESPN all the time. Never changes. 24 hours a day. On my interview, we interviewed till about 2:30 in the morning. I had to catch a flight back to San Diego at 6 o'clock, so I came down at 4:30, and he was sitting outside the elevator doors waiting for me. Asked me if I was going to take the job. That's who he is. Hey, I don't know that the man ever sleeps. He's one of those 65-year-old that got COVID and survived it. I think he excelled from it. It's just unbelievable the things that Coach Edwards is able to do.
Awesome. Part 2, Terry Wilson.
Terry Wilson. We're excited about him. 2-time captain from an SEC football program. Has one more season to compete. I'm excited to have him come in here and that experience, that alpha male bravado that he brings, and see how he competes in our quarterback room and see if he's the best man for the job.
All right. Ryan, thank you for your questions for Coach Gonzales. You are a winner of one of these awesome Lobo ball caps with all 3 coaches' signatures. We're going to slip in a phone call. Mailman has waited patiently through the break. Mailman, you're up first. Go ahead. Thanks for calling in.
I just want to say it's so refreshing and great to hear that all 3 of you gentlemen are supporting each other. And I'm not from New Mexico. I'm from North Carolina, but I've been in New Mexico a long time, and I've supported the Lobo program. It is great and refreshing to hear you guys supporting one another. I can't wait to get my season tickets. I can't wait till COVID is over so I can officially, hopefully, get to shake each and every one of you guys' hand at a game. I am so fired up for this program, and I can't wait to see you guys in person.
It's awesome. Thank you so much for the call, Mailman. How good is that, gents?
It's great. It's outstanding. If that's the Mailman, I'm sure that he might have a son or somebody or a grandchild that he could pass on to Coach Pitino.
No, Carl Malone was such a fan.
Exactly right.
Oh, wouldn't that be something? Okay. All right. This is a Twitter question and a winner of one of these great ball caps with the coach's signatures on it for Coach Bradbury. It's from Ronnie. We all know the pit is the best arena in basketball, but in your career, maybe as the Lobo coach, maybe prior, what's the toughest arena, the most difficult to play on the road that you've taken a team into?
Well, I took a team from Wright State into Louisville and played in there, and they had about 6,000 or 7,000 fans in there. But it had nothing to do with the arena. It had a lot to do with their team. This is the toughest place where the fans can make a difference. And they have in a lot of our games, and it probably pushed us over the edge, and to have some success against teams that were probably better than us.
We've seen it, and we will see it again. And speaking of what Mailman said about can't wait to get his tickets, ticket deposits are being taken now for Lobo football, men's basketball, and women's basketball at golobos.com/tickets. golobos.com/tickets. Okay, a question for Coach Pitino. This one is via Twitter, our final cap, and then we get back to the phone lines. George, you're up next when we get back to the phones here in just a moment. Matt has a question for you, Coach Pitino. What's, at this point, do you feel the biggest position need that you need to fill to build out a roster so that your team can be competitive this upcoming season?
It's hard to say that right now, and that's not just coach speak. I think all of us, you wake up every day as a coach and you don't really know what's going to happen. I always laugh when my wife says to me, "What do you got going on today?" And I'm like, I have no idea what's going to hit me. I think the transfer portal has provided some unique challenges but also opportunities. I will say this. We have some really good kids in this locker room. They have embraced what we're trying to do. I'm not one to constantly say we need to change the culture. It's just going to be different. And that doesn't mean what happened before is bad. And we're just going to do things our way because we believe in it. And I didn't recruit one of those players, not one of them. And they have shown up every single day, 5 minutes early, ready to go. They've had spirit, enthusiasm. So they've been fun to coach, So we're looking at all options. I want to give, certainly the guys on this team, they're my guys now. I've told them over and over again, I may not have recruited you, but you could have left. I've been here for almost a month. You don't have to stay. You have every excuse in the book. So I'm going to coach my butt off just like as if I've recruited you for 3 or 4 years. So we're just trying to make the program better. I do think we need to add shooting. We were not a great shooting team last year. That's something we're trying to add a lot of skill. But I want versatility. When you say position, I want guys who can play multiple positions. I don't want to be able to put a player in a box and say, you're that. So that's what we're looking for. And with the transfer portal every single day, there's unique opportunities. But it's got to be the right fit. We want to get to know them as people. We need gym rats. We need guys who want to come here and get better and win. And so we're trying to vet that process out to the best of our ability.
There are a bunch of great nuggets in that answer. Great question from Matt, and Matt, definitely shooting. That's something to look for in the way that Coach Pitino is going to be building out the roster, is shoring up the shooting for New Mexico Lobo men's basketball. Lobo fans, it's that exciting time of year, lots of big games to enjoy. Including the Masters. Coaches, we're talking about the Masters before we took the air. Join us and help end DWI by designating a driver or arranging a safe ride home for someone who's been drinking. Working together, we can end DWI. Okay, right back to the phone lines. Waiting patiently is George. George, I believe you have a question for Coach Gonzales. Thanks for calling us. Go ahead, George.
Not a question, just a compliment. My boy, James Aho, played with you. You were his coach. And my other boys played also with the Lobos, and a big complaint with my oldest, James, was family mentality went away. So when you guys were talking about you coming back and bringing family, I highly, highly compliment you on that, and also bringing back local talent, giving kids a chance.
Thanks, George. I appreciate that. I family. Robert, I'm glad he brought it up. My family. My aunt and uncles, my Nino, my godfather, he used to bring me and my sister to games here at the pit. He's like my nephew, his cousin that's been a basketball manager, Danilo. I say it all the time, I'm related to half this city. So thank you, George. I miss James. He was a great kicker for us, and we need more people like that.
Fantastic. Okay, we've got one more phone call here before we get to a break. Also, patiently waiting, Joel is on the line with us. Joel, is it a football question? Thanks for the phone call.
Well, it's just a comment for all the coaches. Welcome to Albuquerque. I was at Zimmerman Field watching Don Perkins play. I was at the first game in the pit in 1966. I was at the game in 1964 when the Lobos won their last conference championship. And I'm just going to say me and my whole family are real hungry. Good luck, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That's awesome. Joel, if obviously you listen and you're involved, I'm giving you an invitation to come down to my office. I'd love to talk to you about the 1964 championship team. It was the last one we won around here in football. And then there's not very many people know that Zimmerman Field was where they played football before Johnson Field. And that's outstanding. I've got a picture in my office also. That would be a beautiful place to have a football stadium on campus. It's unbelievable. But I'm glad. I love the place we have now. But I would love for you to come on by the office, Joel, and just talk some Lobo football.
Gosh, if you got an extra chair, I'd like to hear that story too. Wow. That would be really fun to hear his account of that. Okay, it's time for us to get to a timeout. We'll get back to the phone lines, 888-922-0610, 888-922-0610. And I'm going to circle us back when we come back to something that we talked about. And Coach Bradbury talked about getting programs in here and the teams that are coming in next year to face off with the women's basketball team from the Pac-12. And one of the things that also was part of the announcement of your trip upcoming to Michigan in a few years is the home with Oregon State, which if fans didn't know about that, that's on the Lobo schedule as well. And I want to ask specifically about that, Coach G, when we come back, and then we can also relate that to the basketball teams as well. So we're live on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. It's a special edition of Lobo Talk with Coaches Gonzales, Pitino, and Bradbury. And stay with us. It's Lobo Talk on the UNM Sports Radio Network. Welcome back live on Facebook Live, YouTube, and of course Twitter. It is Lobo Talk across the UNM Sports Radio Network and live here in Albuquerque on 95.9 FM at AM 610, The Sports Animal. I'm your host, Robert Portnoy. Phone line open for you at 888-922-0610, 888-922-0610. We have Danny Gonzales, the football coach, Richard Pitino, the men's basketball coach, Mike Bradbury, the women's basketball coach, and by the way, season ticket deposits are now being taken for all three sports at golobos.com/tickets. That's golobos.com/tickets. Coach G, as we went to break, I mentioned among the upcoming games and as part of the release of your unbelievable outing in 2025 to Michigan and the Big House to take on the Wolverines in Ann Arbor, the rest of the upcoming big guarantee games and things like that were laid out. And there's also kind of a sneaky home and home in there with what I think is one of the rising programs in the Pac-12 right now in Oregon State. Mm-hmm. Really excited about that. The key to those home and homes, right, is when that team comes here that you pack University Stadium, right?
No doubt. And it'll be very competitive there. We have a really good chance to win those games here. I think we should get home and home. Now I'm friends with Matt Wells at Texas Tech, and he's agreed. We just need to find some dates. He's willing to play. He's not scared. Arizona State, Colorado. I think we should play all those teams home and home, and they shouldn't be afraid to come here. I mean, in the past we were in the same conference when they were in the WAC. We've never been in the same conference as Colorado, but I mean they shouldn't be afraid to come here. And I want to get those. We've got the Oregon State. We're working on Arizona. It's pretty close. Hopefully that comes to fruition. The last time we had a home and home with Arizona, we swept them. We beat them in 07 and 08. And so, I mean, we just need a shot. And I've got all this spare time. If Coach Pitino needs somebody to come and handle his schedule, we can fill this place up. If the Iona Gales come here, if his dad's not afraid. I mean, we can do that next year.
Yes,
I got spare time. I'll work on it if he wants.
Yes, we could. Well, I think Coach makes a great point. If Coach is bringing in those opponents here, that place needs to be packed. And, because the fans are so important for all of us, they need to understand that we can do this every single year if it's an unbelievable environment. And so we can't take it for granted because it is hard to get some of these great programs to do it. But it's got to be an unbelievable experience. Then we get recruits there and all those things, and that matters. So, I understand when fans get a little upset when you don't play those marquee games because you can't play them all. But when we have opportunities, if he does get a Colorado or Texas Tech in here, that needs to be sold out.
That's a good point. The reason we were able to get a couple is, like, I know when Oklahoma came, they were like, we need to play non-conference games where we have that atmosphere because we have to go to Baylor and play. I have to go to Texas and play, and you have as good or better environment than that. And I agree that's what will help, and I think that's attracts teams
Keith
instead of makes them scared.
So you feel that helped you get Arizona and Arizona State to come to the pit?
It did, especially Arizona.
Awesome. We're going to get back to the phone lines, but Coach Pitino, a follow-up. Before we even took the air, I asked you how things are going, and you said, well, one of the interesting things is it's usually hectic at the start because travel and recruiting is a big part of it. Well, you're here, COVID, and you're here, so they're less hectic. It's mind-boggling. I think of the number of things that you guys have on your lists at any given moment. When does scheduling start to bubble to the surface of your list?
Today was when we really started it. I told somebody the other day, because I'm going on year 10 of being a head coach, and they were telling me, you have to do this, you have to do this. And I said, hey, listen, you got me trapped in the backcourt right now, but I got 3 timeouts. You're not going to speed me up on this. Now, I'm not going to take forever, but, I understand, scheduling is very, very important. And we've got to make sure that we put this team in the best position to succeed. And it's not as simple as everybody thinks. There's a lot of factors, dates, previous contracts. The COVID deal, for sure, has changed a lot. Coaching changes and all that. So, but we're locked in on it. I'm finalizing my staff, which is great. That's probably the most important thing is getting to know your current players, recruiting them, getting to see what you're all about, but then at least getting a couple of guys hired. It's not as big a staff as football for basketball, so you get 2 or 3 hired, and it kind of calms the waters down a little bit. And we've got that. We've got a great staff that I'm excited about, and that'll be finalized soon. And then we're going to go to work hard on that schedule. And to get the fans back in this building is number one. I'm all for playing fun games. I really am, because that's going to help this program get back to the Mountain West, like Coach has done and what Coach is doing as well. But the number one sell is the fans, and we got to make them a part of it.
Okay, guys. Normally, this would be our first caller. We'd give him the floor, and he uses the time, and he's great. but we've only got about a minute and a half for you before a break here, and it's our last break. So he's going to have to be quick, but I know he wants to get in, and it's so great that he found us here for this special edition of Lobo Talk. It's our Lobo in the Volunteer State. Keith in Memphis is with us. Keith, welcome into the program. Go ahead.
Hello, thanks for that introduction. It's really nice. I appreciate everybody. I don't really have a question, but since Coach Pitino was new, I just kind of wanted to introduce myself over the phone. And I know Coach Bradbury, you only heard me once or twice maybe for the basketball season. And of course, Coach Gonzales, you and I and Mr. Portnoy, we all talked during your football season. So I just wanted to say hello. That way you can hear the voice. You'll know the Twitter guy now that I've been hitting you with, Coach Pitino, with emphasis on capital P, capital I, capital T. I'll have a great question for you. As a teaser, you can ask Coach Gonzales what the question was that I asked him. So if you wanted to kind of prep for it last year or next year when you get closer. But just want to say hi, go Lobos, and hopefully I made it under the 90-minute window. So thanks for the call. I got you on the broadcast over the internet through the Lobo app. I don't ever want Coach Gonzales to get mad at me again for that. So I'm hanging up with you and going right back to the app. So thanks again, and see you soon.
That's great. Keith in Memphis. And Coach G has 1 year of it. You've been with us a few years now,
yeah.
Coach Bradbury. He's first every show, right?
Every single time. And we got about halfway through one a year or so ago, and I'm like, is Keith all right? Has anybody heard from him? Because he hadn't been on there yet.
Yeah, and we found out it was a family deal, and he was back the next week. And all right, we got to get to our final timeout. Back to wrap things up with Coaches Gonzales, Pitino, and Bradbury. We're live. It's Lobo Talk on the UNM Sports Radio Network. Back to wrap it up on Lobo Talk live on the UNM Sports Radio Network. My producer and engineer tonight, Mike Vitale. Spectacular work in the studios at Cumulus downtown. On site, our assistant AD for Creative Services, Chase Christensen, directing. Unbelievable. And orchestrating everything, our associate AD for Marketing and Communications, Joe Tenti. I'm Robert Portnoy. And we have the luminaries, Coaches Gonzales, Pitino, and Bradbury, football, men's basketball, and women's basketball with us for just a couple of minutes left here. Guys, first of all, this has been so much fun. The fans that are listening obviously can feel the energy. the sense of family within the department. Coach Bradbury, you can speak to this in a way that neither Coach Pitino nor Coach Gonzales can because of the number of years that you've been here. What has the feeling been like here in recent months, over the last year, in the way things seem to be transforming?
Well, I think the energy, especially from Danny, was, it's contagious. And I think people have picked up on that and kind of followed his lead on how to bring excitement to this program. I know I talked to him early on, and then when he had first got here, and then I'm like, he's just excited he got the job, and then it just, like, it's even more now. And I mean, he calls me on the phone and he said, hey, I'm coming to that Colorado State game. I'll figure out a way. And I was like, hey, do what you got to do. So for me, I think the energy level is extremely high, and the excitement level is as well.
Coach G, I think everybody can feel it. And Coach Pitino, it hasn't been very long that you've been with us on campus, but compared to some of your previous experiences and what you feel after just a couple of weeks in town.
Family's the right word. I just think that everybody's pulling for each other. I think that, I don't think any of us want it to be just a football school or a women's basketball school or a men's basketball or baseball or whatever. I think we all want, this starving fan base to be at every game so that we can bring our family. I remember when I first was looking at the job, I went to Coach Gonzales' Twitter handle, and I saw him at the baseball game, and I saw him at those games with his great wife, and that's what we all want. This can be a sleeping giant for all sports, and it's on us. I mean, it's on us to stay together, stay the course. Every time there's a recruit on campus, that we're talking positively 24/7 about this experience, and that just rubs off on everybody in the department. And I think Eddie Nunez sets the tone with it. He's got a great staff that does that as well. And if we do that, great things are going to happen all across the board.
I'll tell you one of the things that I noticed, Coach G, and we just have a few seconds, but when I saw you post a picture of you and Sandra at the Lobo baseball games in Phoenix, I'm like, wow, that's next level right there.
No, I wasn't going to miss opening night. I mean, Coach Birmingham's doing a great job over there. Special. It was an opportunity to get out where people could actually watch our Lobos play, and I had an opportunity to get over there, and so I wasn't going to miss it.
Fantastic. Coach Gonzales, thank you for everything. This has been awesome having you. Appreciate you joining us on this special edition of Lobo Talk.
Thanks for inviting me. I'm just glad to be here.
Coach Pitino, our first Lobo Talk, many to come, and I hope after many victories. I can't wait. Thanks for being with us tonight.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
And Coach Bradbury, an old hand at this. We've been doing it for a few years now. You're awesome. Congratulations again on a conference championship, and I cannot wait for next season already.
Thanks, Robert. I appreciate it.
All right, that's going to do it for us. A special edition of Lobo Talk on Facebook Live and Twitter and, of course, YouTube from Bob King Court in the legendary pit has come to a close. Thanks to everybody who's made it possible. So long, everybody, and go Lobos.